For more than 25 years, Ash Ketchum traveled across the Pokémon world. He battled hundreds of trainers, met legendary Pokémon, won championships, saved the world countless times. And yet, Ash barely got older. He started his journey as a 10-year-old boy, and somehow, after years of adventures, he was still 10. So why? Was it just a cartoon decision, or is there actually a deeper reason Ash never aged? When Ash first left Pallet Town, he was just a kid with a dream. He wanted to become a Pokémon master. He didn't know how difficult that would be. He didn't know how many battles he'd lose, and he certainly didn't know how many times he'd end up saving the world. But as the series continued, something strange happened. The world changed. Ash changed. His Pokémon changed. His friends changed, but his age didn't. Ash traveled through Kanto, then Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, Kalos, Alola, and eventually he became the world champion. Think about that. Ash went from being a complete beginner to defeating some of the strongest trainers in the Pokémon world. He became more experienced, more intelligent, more mature, but visually he was still the same kid. So why didn't the writers simply let him grow? Because Ash's age wasn't really the point, his journey was. Ash was designed to represent the player. When someone starts a Pokémon game, they're beginning a new adventure. They choose their first Pokémon, they meet rivals, they explore new regions, they become stronger. Then, eventually, they start another adventure. Ash works the same way. Every new region gives him another beginning. If Ash aged normally, the story would eventually become about his adulthood, his career, his responsibilities, his life after Pokémon. But Pokémon wasn't trying to tell that story. It was trying to tell the story of adventure. And there's another reason. Ash needed to remain relatable. A child watching Pokémon for the first time could look at Ash and think, that could be me. He's not an adult professor. He's not a legendary hero. He's not some unbeatable champion. He's a kid chasing a dream. And every new generation of viewers gets to experience Pokémon alongside him. If Ash became 20, then 25, then 30, the character would slowly stop representing the new generation of players. Keeping him young allowed Pokémon to keep restarting the adventure. But there's an interesting contradiction. Ash may not have aged physically, but he absolutely aged emotionally. Look at early Ash. He was impatient, arrogant. He often rushed into battles without thinking. He didn't always understand his Pokémon. He had to learn the basics of being a trainer. Now, compare that to the Ash we see later. He's calmer, more confident, more strategic, and much better at understanding Pokémon. So perhaps Ash did grow up, just not physically. His journey is basically a strange form of growing up without getting older. Every region teaches him something. Every loss changes him. Every friendship gives him a new perspective. Every Pokémon he raises teaches him responsibility. He doesn't become older, he becomes wiser. And that's one of the reasons his character lasted so long. But there is another popular explanation. Some fans joke that Ash simply can't age because the Pokémon world has no normal concept of time. And honestly, there is some truth to that. The anime isn't designed like a realistic timeline. The characters' ages are flexible. Events can happen across what feels like months or years without the story needing to constantly update everyone's age. It's a fictional world built around adventure, not a calendar. And then there are the more mysterious fan theories. Some fans have wondered if Ash's journey takes place in a strange, repeating cycle. Others have joked that he was somehow frozen in time. Some even point to the legendary Pokémon and supernatural events surrounding him. But there has never been a definitive canon explanation that Ash possesses some secret ability that prevents aging. The simplest answer is also probably the correct one. Ash doesn't age because Pokémon needed him to remain Ash, and maybe that's why his age doesn't actually matter. Because when you think about Ash, you don't remember him as a number, you remember the moments. The first time Pikachu trusted him, the battles he almost lost, the Pokémon that chose to follow him, the friends he met, the rivals who pushed him forward, the victories that seemed impossible, and the goodbyes that hurt. That's Ash's real timeline. Not his age, his experiences. Eventually, Ash achieved the dream he had chased for decades. He became the world champion. And yet, he didn't suddenly become an adult. He didn't stop traveling. He didn't decide his journey was over. Because becoming a Pokémon master was never really about reaching a final destination. It was about continuing to learn, continuing to meet Pokémon, continuing to make friends, continuing to explore. That's why Ash never really needed to age, because the moment he stopped being curious, he would stop being Ash. And maybe that's the hidden meaning behind his eternal childhood. Ash represents the part of us that never wants the adventure to end, the part that still gets excited when a new journey begins, the part that believes that the next town might contain something amazing. For 25 years, Ash stayed 10, but the audience didn't. We grew up. We changed. We moved on. Some of us stopped watching Pokémon. Some came back years later. Some introduced Pokémon to their own children. And every time we saw Ash, he was still there, still smiling, still traveling, still beside Pikachu, almost like a piece of our childhood had been waiting for us. And that's perhaps the real reason Ash never aged. He wasn't created to grow old with us. He was created to remind us what it felt like to be young, to believe that the next town might contain something amazing, to believe that the next battle could change everything. Ash stayed 10 so that the adventure could stay timeless. And maybe that's why, even after all these years, when we see Ash and Pikachu walking towards their next adventure, it still feels like we're kids again. Ash never aged, but we did, and somehow that's what made him unforgettable.